Most recently, Ghanaian poet Ama Ata Aidoo passed away, but in her life, she lived a fiery life. She was a very bold lady. She was very brave, and she spoke her truth to power. She was a writer, an author, and a renowned poet who spoke out against some of the injustices that Africa has endured under the thumb of the colonial West. And this lady does not mince her words. When I tell you there was a time back in the day when she did an interview with a German publication and she did not hold back. She called all of them out for what they have been doing to the continent. And, you know, most of the time we look at it from such a monolithic perspective, but, you know, she tied the whole picture, you know. Aidoo says, on top of what we know, that the Western powers came to Africa and they looted African resources and continue to do that, what they've also done is they also brought some things that did not belong on the continent. They brought diseases. And she's very categorical in saying diseases such as tuberculosis did not exist on the continent before the white man came here. It's only after the white man came to the continent that certain diseases began being reported on the continent. And this is something that you can go and read. And I know, like, most of you who might not be necessarily in Africa, there's so many parts of African history that are left out of what you're taught. But Africans, particularly those who were living on the continent, were some of the most healthy people to have ever existed because of what we used to put in our body and how we used to live. And Aidoo says, listen, we are not going to mince our words. We are going to call you out for who you are. You're people that came here, took and took and took and took some more. And in the long run, when you realize that there's nothing more that you can take, you've branded us. You've branded us the continent of poverty. You've branded us the continent of disease. You've branded us the continent of war. But in essence, you are the reason why we find ourselves where we find ourselves. You've taken everything that has value on the continent. That's why most of us remain poor. Some of these diseases came from you, and that's why you continue to label us. And some of the wars are funded and facilitated by you.
Since we met you people 500 years ago, look at us. We've given everything. You are still taking. It's true. I mean, where would the whole Western world be without Africa? Our cocoa, our timber, our gold, our diamonds, our platinum, our whatever. Everything you are is us. I am not saying it, it's a fact. And in return for all of this, what have we got? Nothing. Anti-personnel indoctrination against ourselves. If you go and cook your horrible diseases like AIDS, you say it is us. You brought us tuberculosis. We didn't have this big cough until white people came here. In exchange for Africa giving Europe 500 solid years of our people, I mean, not Europe, the Western world, of our human beings to work your canes, to dig your gold, to take in gold itself, diamond, I mean, you know, fish, peanuts, palm oil, everything. In exchange for that, we have got nothing. Nothing. And you know it. Nothing.
You know, this interview might have been done over a decade ago, but until this day, it still makes a lot of sense. This is a conversation that deeply, deeply, deeply resonates with many Africans. And on top of what she said earlier about the West coming and take, the West have also been very keen to brand the continent, you know. It's nothing new that the West have always held and seen Africa in very little regard, you know. It's nothing new that we've been called monkeys and we've been called all sorts of names just because we look different, you know. And the thing that baffles me is the Western world look very different from Africans. But Africans have never been in a rush to brand the West and say, oh, you look like this, oh, you look like this. If anything, Africans are the most accommodating people. We understand what diversity is. We allow you to be you, do your thing. This is me, I'm going to do my thing. But you know what? You'll be told that Africans are backward, they're not accommodating, they know nothing about diversity. Excuse me, you and us look miles and miles apart. But when you came to the continent, guess who welcomed you? It's the Africans. And they've always been very comfortable around you without trying to change you or brand you. But you know, the Western world has this insatiable thirst to keep branding Africa. It's like keep minimizing them until maybe one day they'll be invisible.
And you look upon, white folks look upon us like monkeys. It is true. It's in your literature. Hey, some of your best thinkers have said this about us. Have you heard of all these Germans? Have you heard?
Okay.
Yes. They said, Lord Burton, yes. People like that, they said, we don't even have the brain of animals. That's what we've got from you people.
But don't you think that this is over now?
Over where? Is it over? Who said that AIDS came from the green monkey? Is it over? Is it over?
Well, if this is your impression, do you think that you can ever forgive us?
It's not a question of forgiveness. I have nothing against you. My point is that you did and you are doing for your survival what is necessary. We can't blame you for that. The fact that we didn't do enough for our own survival and we are still not doing enough for our survival, that is not your problem. Even everybody that God has created has a sense of survival. And if we don't develop it, we can't blame white people. You came here because you needed these things. You took gunpowder from the Chinese. You needed them to shoot people.
Even though this interview was done a long time ago, the issues remain the same, And I've done a video on aid, and this is something that we'll keep talking about. And it just shows you how grave of an issue is. And the issue of aid did not start today. Dambisa Moyo has spoken out about aid. She said aid is dead help. It's not going to change anything. It's not going to solve any problems. If anything, it piles on the problems because it's a band-aid solutions. It doesn't allow you to sit back and truly re-examine why this keeps happening. I'll give you a practical example. Famine in Kenya. Every single year, people are dying when there's drought and there isn't enough food in the country. 3 or 4 months later, people are always drowning because the rain come and then there's flooding in the country and it sweeps away people, goods, properties, and all that kind of stuff. But humanitarian aid will be sent. It's been the same thing since I was a child. Do you know why? Because aid does not allow you to examine the problem. How are desert countries able to feed themselves? Because either they didn't receive aid or the aid they received was short, sharp, and targeted. If people would sit down and say, Kenya, what's your problem? During the drought season, you don't have water, so you don't have food. And during the rainy season, you have surplus of water and you're flooding. How about we build dams, redirect that water, hold it in reservoirs, treat it so that you can have water all year long and reduce your dependence on rain-fed agriculture, but do irrigation and have food all year long. Aid does not have room for that. Aid just sorts the problem now. And also aid is a bargaining chip for the West.
My people, the Akans, we have a proverb. It says that good morning, thank you, is never enough to salt anybody's food forever. You cannot build your life on thank you, morning, thank you, English, thank you, God. Which is what aid makes, we are always receiving. Nobody, look, and I don't care who hears, nobody anywhere in this world is going to send you their best of anything. Do you see? Neither the experts nor people, you give us what you can afford. Aid is the leftover, really, and it cannot be enough. Aid, you can, when, the world is, now the world is one place. So, there is nothing wrong if my house is in a crisis and you offered me something. There's nothing wrong. because there is interrelationship. But a whole nation, a whole continent cannot live forever on aid. And I think aid we are in Africa, we are in danger of making foreign aid a kind of policy that is wrong. I think that it humiliates our people. The people in the villages have not asked anybody to go around begging on their behalf.
Well, guys, that's all I had for you in this episode of The Conversation. My name is Ondiro Oganga. Remember to comment down below what your thoughts are, sending prayers, love, and light to her family. And remember to like this video and share with a friend. I'll see you again next time.